Hello, theme park enthusiasts, and welcome back to Planet Coaster and to my Warner Brothers resort. So, in this episode, as you can see here at the beginning, the main focus is to install the other primary ride of the Citywalk area here. Now, I am going to get back to that here in a few minutes because first thing I wanted to do is, as I said last week, I wasn't feeling that great. Still a little bit under the weather, but doing a lot better than I was last week. And so I wanted to go ahead and finish off this gift shop here. I needed some windows into place, and I felt like these windows worked. Yes, they have the little chicken designs on them, but they're nice big windows. They're colorable, and I think that they give a nice color scheme that fits with Warner Brothers overall. So I liked how they were and went with those. Next thing we're going to do here is we're going to put in a monorail system. Now, the primary way to get back and forth to the parks they're going to be involved at Warner Brothers here is going to be by using the gondola system that I already set up there to go to the Warner Brothers Studios park. But in addition to that, there is going to be this monorail system. Now, storyline-wise, the way the monorail is going to work is it's going to be exclusively travel for people who are going to be staying at the hotels at the Warner Brothers Resort. Basically, this is like an exclusive access, getting early access to the park, everything of that nature by using these monorails. So the way it's going to be here in game is I'm just going to have it go to sort of that hidden area I have behind the mountain there. And then it's going to cross over the water here and go to the area where I'm going to put in two different hotels for the time being over at the Citywalk. Now, I do say two hotels for the time being because I do plan on the Citywalk possibly evolving over time to have more hotels, everything of that nature. So for right now, it's going to have just the two. And I did want this to also be somewhat of a feature here for the Citywalk. And so for me, one of the big things is I wanted, as people were coming down those escalators, to have this monorail somewhat go right across that front part there so you could see it as you were entering the area. So here all I'm doing is I'm attaching and connecting the full line for the monorail, and then I'm also going ahead and putting in the different stations. So we'll have one here hidden in the mountain because even though there's going to be multiple parks over here, I don't need multiple stops for each one over on the other side of this mountain, so we'll just have the one there. And then I've put in one at each of the two hotels that I plan on building right now. In this particular episode, I'm going to build the first of those hotels. This particular hotel is going to be the more adult-themed one. Almost everything with the hotel is going to be interior. It's not going to have a lot of stuff outside. The other hotel, which will probably come in next week's episode, on the other hand, will be much more of the child-friendly hotel. The design of it's going to be that way, and it's going to have some exterior things that are also entertainment for kids. So what you see me doing here is I'm deleting parts of the path just so I can go ahead and get the structure of the monorail in there. I wanted to get the different pillars in, and then what I go ahead and do is I add back in the walkway in between those pillars, so that way the pillars still exist, they aren't just deleted automatically. And I really love the way that looked there, just wanted to test it out. So here is where we're going to build the hotel for this week. And this particular hotel isn't really a themed hotel per se. It's not going to be a licensed property in any way, but it's going to be inspired by a particular time period, and it will have some licensed commodities to it. So the hotel is going to be named after actually a hotel here in my hometown, the Grand Hotel. The one here in Deming, New Mexico is not really that grand of a hotel. But this one I wanted to be, and I wanted it to be sort of thematically looking like it is a Federalist style building. So it's going to be done in a Federalist style, but it is going to be a very modern building. And with this building, you're going to see what I do plan on doing to a point with the parks as I build them. A lot of the buildings that I've added in here are sort of fully functional buildings. You can see everything inside, it's ultra detailed, everything of that nature. This hotel building here is not going to be like that. The building is going to be about function. It's going to contain the monorail here, and it's also going to contain the hotel as well as a restroom and such. But each of those things is not going to really be themed up because the purpose is not for people to see inside of this building. So with that, I'm not going to really spend a ton of time on doing the theming on the interior of the building here. It's just going to be sort of functional, and the exterior is really what you're going to be seeing overall. And as I said, that's something I'm going to be doing in the parks once I start on the Warner Brothers Studios parks. The only interior theming I'm really going to do is for the rides themselves, and that includes the queue lines for the rides, because those are areas where the player can actually go. This type of a building, so for example, when I put in a restaurant in the park and everything of that nature, I'm not going to spend the extra pieces on to sort of theme out. And that is the real reason behind it, because even this park right now, which is just a very small little thing, but because of the amount of pieces that some of these buildings have that I've put in here, such as the parking garages and the nightclub and such, it takes nearly 10 minutes for this park to load right now on my computer. It is taking an enormous amount of time, and if this were a full-size park, I know this would basically maybe be a land. So, just for practicality's sake, I can't put in this amount of detail on the interior of buildings inside the park. So I wanted to sort of get in the habit of that here. So basically the areas you can somewhat see from the outside will be sort of covered. As I'm doing right here with the monorail area, I am putting in the walls around the monorail, so that way it is at least covered in that aspect. But the fact is that outside of the theming of this area, of the monorail station and such, or the tunnels, it's not going to be themed, because it's just going to be a functional building. Now, originally here, I'm using the sandstone, and when I look back at it, after this was a project I did over several days. This was sort of the first day or the second day, I think. And when I come back to it on the following day, I realized, the sandstone just isn't working for the look I want with the Federalist design. I did have to use the sandstone for the tunnel because the particular brick that I want to use doesn't have a tunnel feature to it. So I will leave the sandstone for that, but as you'll see on the exterior of the building when I put the brick in and such, I do cover up the actual look of the sandstone so that it looks like it fits with the rest of the building. Now, with the Federalist style, what they are known for the most part, is that they're very rectangular buildings, which is what you're sort of seeing here. It's going to be very blocky, it's not going to have a lot of extras to it and such, and it's going to have sort of sloping roofs to it. Now, with this particular building, as I said, it's sort of in the Federalist style, and by that I mean that it's going to go ahead and have add-ons to it, particularly a large section for the actual hotel rooms. So the way I figure that this would actually function if it were a real building is that the area that is being designed right now would be where the monorail is, would be the check-in for the guests, and would most likely be some of the area inside for some of the amenities, such as the restaurant perhaps, or the spa, things of that nature. Then the part that I will build later on here, that's going to be sort of the back of the building, would be where the actual guest rooms are and the additional amenities. Now, at this point I was putting on this front structure here and it just wasn't feeling right. So as you're going to see here in a few moments, all of this is going to get taken out and destroyed because it just did not work as I was wanting to. Basically, with a Federalist building, you can have sort of an overhang that comes off the front, but this overhang did not work as I wanted it to. One of the things I did definitely want is a sort of feature with the Federalist style is often to have columns. And I definitely wanted some columns to this building because I wanted to have that luxurious feel to it. So here we see me playing around with the columns, and as I said, it just didn't work the way I had it here. So you will see this all get changed up as the video goes on. Now, my plan for this is, as I said, this is more of the adult, luxurious location to stay on the property. And the reason for that is that it's not going to have sort of an outdoor swimming pool, those kind of things. What you will see toward the end of the episode is I put in sort of a walking garden area outside that's just very relaxed. And part of that is done because I am going to most likely add in one more gondola system before we finish with this sort of first version of the Citywalk area here, and that gondola system is going to go to a place that I am not actually going to build because of the fact that it really doesn't work in Planet Coaster. And what that is it's going to be a gondola system that goes to a fictional water park. I'm hoping if they do a Planet Coaster 2, they will allow for building a water park and stuff, because I would love to design a water park. It's just in the game itself right now, I really can't put a water park into works. I could put a couple of water coasters, a log ride or something like that, but I can't put in a wave pool, I can't put in slides that work, all those kind of things. And to me, it's just, there's no point in building such a large thing that just isn't going to actually have a function in the game. So with that in mind, yeah, I'm going to put in the gondola that supposedly goes to this water park, but I'm not going to put in the actual water park itself. Here you can see that, as I said, I had gotten to that point, and I just didn't like the look that I had for it. So all of this is coming out, and I had looked at some pictures and stuff of more the Federalist style, and you'll see me start actually getting this to look more the traditional style that I wanted it to have. But back to the water park thing. Considering the fact that the water park is going to pretty much be using the gondolas right outside the doors of this particular hotel, I didn't feel like this place needed a major pool area. Just a simple indoor nice one for the guests to use I thought was sufficient, because truly if they want to use a water area of some kind, they can pretty much walk out the front doors, hop on the gondola, and head over to the water park area. So with that being said, yeah, it's not going to be a main feature of this particular hotel. And as I said, since they are guests staying at the hotel here, they could also just take the monorail over to the different parks. So if they wanted to go to the water park, that would be well within their capabilities. Because, yeah, the monorail is basically going to do a giant loop for all the different parks of the Warner Brothers Resort area. And it is exclusively for those people who are hotel guests. Now, of course, in-game, the way I did it is I just put it in the monorail stations so anybody can use it, because I did want guests to be using the different monorails. But, as I said, as far as storyline goes, yeah, it would be exclusive to hotel guests. That nice little luxury feature where it's something special that since you paid for being able to stay at the hotel, you're able to use it. And that's also why I made the monorail as short as it is, only being 3 cars in length, because it's not intended for a ton of people to be on it all the time. It is intended for just those people who are staying at the hotels to use it. Now, there would be a different monorail at pretty much every location, or the availability to have one at every location. Most likely, most of the time, many of them would be kept in storage in a garage somewhere, and then they could be pulled out if the traffic was dictating that they needed the extra trains to be in service. But probably they'd only have a couple on the track at most times, because it would only be for the guests who were staying at the hotels. And also for those guests, if they didn't feel like waiting on it, as I said, they could always use the gondola system. That would be perfectly available to them. It's just one of those things that they might like the nicety of the added luxury of having their own specific way of travel. Here, I had just not liked how I had those lights facing upwards. I've done that quite a few times. I decided in that particular case, I wanted to move them to the top and have them go that way. So that's what I did there. Just a quick little adjustment. Here now we're going to see the lettering for the hotel going on. And I really like this entrance a lot more. As I said, it's a bit more flat to the building. Still has my columns to it and such. And it, I feel like, does have more of that Federalist style to it. I'm not a huge architecture person overall, but for some reason this just really struck me as something that would really fit for this park. This would be sort of the, as the name implies, the Grand Hotel. The one that, you know, if you're a bit older and you wanted something luxurious to stay at, you could be there. And it's also why I put it next to the nightclub. And as you're going to see toward the end of the episode, there is going to be a specific access to the nightclub directly from this hotel's back area there. So again, exclusivity for them so that they can enter the nightclub, and that way, you know, this could be a hotel that just adults who wanted to have a good night at the nightclub could stay at. Maybe you drank a little bit too much and such and you didn't want to drive or anything of that nature, so instead you just get a hotel room for the night here at the Grand and stay overnight. Here I was playing around with the different roofing and such, trying to figure out what worked for me, and sort of decided on what I liked here. And then, as I said, I did want to cover up that sandstone with brick here, so just using some of the brick arches or brick columns, I go ahead and cover it up at the end there. It still will be sandstone as far as the tunnel, because there's nothing I can do about that, really. But from the exterior, it'll have this nicer look. Originally, I had somewhat intended to do both hotels in the same week, but the reality was this hotel took much longer than I had expected, and the fact is I know for a fact that the other hotel is going to take a lot of time. I have an idea already in mind what I'm wanting to do with that hotel. It is probably going to be somewhat Looney Tunes inspired, and because of that, in order to get it to sort of have that cartoon style to it, it's going to take a lot of work because I don't want it to be just your basic sort of building. I want it to be something very unique, and with that, as I said, going to take that extra bit of time in order to get it done right. So here I am putting in the roofing for this front portion of the hotel. As you can see, I'm not filling in the back wall of the hotel, and as I said, that is because of the fact that this is just sort of the entrance portion of the hotel. In-game, it's just going to be covered in. It's not going to be a functional area that you can see and such. It's going to be all pretty. But in real life, this would be sort of the area you would come into. It would have a very grand design. I would expect it to have a fairly open design, with the monorail being a feature to it. So you could see that maybe from the restaurant, everything of that nature. Hotels I'm sort of thinking about as far as inspiration here are like the hotel in Nashville, Tennessee, that is where near the Grand Ole Opry. It is a enormous hotel that actually has a riverboat that runs through the inside of it. If you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. It is a real amazing look to it, and it just has this grandiose styling, and that would be something that I think that they would do for this hotel. It wouldn't be so much kid themed per se, but it would have a very luxurious style that kids would feel welcome at, but at the same time adults would also feel very comfortable in. So for this particular building, this is one of the things that I am going to do here, is it's going to have a closed door. Even though people will walk through it and such in order to get to the monorail and use the hotel and whatnot, I felt like a closed door fit this building better instead of having just an opening to it, and I wanted to do that. So yes, people will clip through the door there. There's nothing I can really do about that, but I'm okay with that overall. I think that it works. Because, as I said, it is not a finished building on the inside. It's never intended to be a finished building on the inside. I just wanted something that would work for guests overall. So here originally I put in both the restaurant and a hotel. And then as I played around with the hotel, I realized that one of the amenities you can add in for the hotel is a restaurant. So you'll see here in a moment that I'll go ahead and delete the restaurant, because I don't really need that. And instead, everything will be connected to the hotel. I think I end up putting in a full 100 rooms for the hotel here. 20 of them are going to be the luxury suites, and then 80 of them will be sort of the standard rooms. Because again, it is a luxurious place, but I do want it to be where people could just enjoy it for a weekend or whatever, or for a night when they had partied and just partied a little bit too hard. So now that all the rooms have been linked to it, the hotel is technically done. But now we're going to go ahead and build the portion of the hotel where the guests would actually have their guest rooms. And for this, the way I have this in mind is that you would actually go past the guest rooms to go up elevators at the back of the building up to the different floors. And the reason for this is because the hotel rooms are going to actually face towards the water. That way, every single hotel room with their windows and such will have a lovely view of the water, and so that they can enjoy looking out at the water, looking at the gondola ride, looking at the monorail, and just everything that I have planned for the water area there. So that it's a really luxurious view from your different hotel rooms. Now, if this was a more modern style of hotel, I would make sure to put in some giant windows to it and such. But the fact is, again, I wanted it to stay with this Federalist style, so it's going to have a lot of windows instead of some large, luxurious ones. But you will also see that for the rooms toward the top of the hotel, instead of having just windows, they actually are going to have a door and a little balcony area. So that way those people who spent the money for the luxury rooms at the hotel, they can get out and actually look at the area and enjoy the views from their hotel rooms. So here I tried to play around with different roof styles and such, because I really didn't like the fact of how the roof sort of dead-ended into the wall there. But as I played around with it, I couldn't find anything that really fit for what I wanted. So I go back to having it here. And the way I sort of imagine this happening is, even though the hotel was created all at once, the sort of look they're going for is that this original building here at the front is actually the old portion of the building. And that actually this back part, the taller part there, was created later on as sort of an addition to add to the rooms and such. That's sort of the storyline that I want the building to tell, even though that's not in reality what actually happened. So with that, as I said, we went ahead and made those compromises, and the way they would do that's pretty simple. They would just simply have drainage that would go into the building easy enough, and so that way it would work perfectly fine, even though it does butt up against the flat wall. So this portion, I also wanted to have that sort of angled roof area to it. And so with that, you're seeing me cut the walls here, making it a bit shorter in locations. I tried to sort of cheat the system here and just copy over this entire triangle. It really did not want to come over properly. And so in the end, I end up having to just do it manually. I really should have just not wasted the time and done it manually from the beginning. Would have been easier than trying to copy and paste it over it was. But we'll get this set up here, and then we'll go ahead and add the walls back in to fill in, and then we'll put in the roof structure. Now, as I said, this area over here seems a little bit narrow, and the reason for that is there are not hotel rooms on both sides of a hallway or something here. Basically, you would enter at elevators sort of at the back of the building, go up to your particular floor, there would be the hallway at the back of the building, and then at the front area of the hallway would be your suites that would be off of it so that you could look out over the water area. Because the view otherwise is just looking out towards the little garden area, which would be fine for the hallway, but it really wouldn't be fine for people who are paying the kind of money that they're going to be staying at a hotel like this. So I wanted them to have a nicer view, and so all the rooms are going to be facing toward the water. This is sort of inspired for me by the Aquarius, which is in Nevada. I'm trying to remember the town off the top of my head. It's a small town in Nevada, right along the border with Arizona. I know Bullhead City is actually on the Arizona side of the border. But the Aquarius Hotel is right along a river, and they've actually designed this hotel in sort of a, what I would call a twist on modern design, but so that each of the rooms in the hotel actually does face out to the water, which is a great thing. So that way, no matter where your room is, you can look out the windows and see the water from them. My wife and I have stayed there once. It's actually the trip where I actually proposed to her, and we really love that hotel. It's a very nice one to stay at. Do highly recommend you look it up if you're in that area. But even though this is a very different architectural design, I did sort of want that mentality to it, where it was one where they would have the all the rooms facing toward the water, because I think that's just really a nice thing to have, where you get to have that water view when you wake up in the morning. You can see the sunrise on it perhaps, or you can see the sunset. If they were going to have a fireworks display over the water, you'd be able to see that from here as well. And that is most likely one thing I will put in, even though this is not really an amusement park per se itself. A nice fireworks display for the people who are here isn't a bad thing, and I don't have any issue in putting that in. So I probably will do that before this series ends on the Citywalk. Here you can see I put in those little balcony areas, as I said. Wanted to put in a little roof too, because the people are going to have spent some nice money on that area, and I want them to have something nice for it. Now I'm just adding a door in the back. Again, it's not going to be an open door. It's going to be a door where they are going to glitch through it in the end. But it was one of those things where I did want that to be there for the guests, because the people actually can use this walking area in the back, even though most likely no one will, because there's really nothing out here other than just a walking area. Wanted it to be available, and I wanted it to use paths. So then I wanted to put in a nice fountain area here just so people can enjoy the view. And this is pretty much the only created pieces that I have used in this particular episode are going to be in this back area. This fountain, which I went ahead and added the Warner Brothers logo to instead of the Planet Coaster logo. And then I will use some of the Looney Tunes characters in this walking area as well here in a little bit. But everything else in this particular hotel and the monorail and such is all in-game assets. So I'm sort of proud of the fact that I'm using pretty much in-game stuff for this particular episode. Not a lot of stuff off the workshop. Here I'm just putting in some fencing because, again, this back area would be exclusive to hotel guests. It's not available to the public who are just walking on the outside there. Then I just want to fence off the back areas here some. I did want to sort of deal with that end area that I had just sort of left vague before. Put in a hill for right now. Not the greatest thing in the world, but it'll work for the time being. And I'll probably touch that up with some trees and plants and stuff here before we finish off this series on the Citywalk. Really, as I said, I have one more main building that I plan on putting in. Well, one more overall building. I still do have the gondola ride to add in, and the building they'll go with that. But I do plan on putting in the other hotel, hopefully in the next episode, and then we'll probably do the gondola ride after that. And after that point, then we'll go through and do all the touch-up work to sort of bring this area to life, get rid of sort of the dead, empty space that we have for it. So here, basically just copy and pasting over the different fencing, and just lining it up so that way it all connects together properly. And as I said, basically we're just forming a nice little backyard for this hotel. It's not huge security fencing or anything, because the fact of the matter is it's just here for the guests to enjoy. It's not like we're trying to keep people out. Now, for some reason, the fence in the front there disappeared at a point in time. Not exactly sure why that happened, but I go ahead and just add it back in here. And that way I can put my pathway in the back area here without it going out into the commons area. These paths really have no significance, and I didn't design them in any special way. I just wanted them to sort of be meandering paths so people could enjoy walking along them, put plenty of seating along them. You will see here I'm going to go ahead and put in a doorway attached to the nightclub, so that way, as I said, it's sort of the private access that the people have from the hotel over to the nightclub who want it. Now here we get the different Looney Tunes figures, and as I said, I'm just placing them around. Definitely wanted Bugs Bunny to sort of be the focus there as soon as you come out in the back area, and so that there's sort of picture places that people could have where they could take some photos and enjoy with their family and stuff. And even little kids wouldn't mind using the walking paths and stuff to see their different characters that are around the area. I then wanted to see what trees were being used in the map overall, and then just bring in some different trees through this different walking area in the back here. Now, these would not have been just trees originally there. They would have been intentionally constructed for the purpose of this walking area. Now we are coming to the end of this video, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and let you just enjoy the last few minutes of it. If you enjoyed what I did in the video, please go ahead and click that like button. If you've not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, so they're aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you, and I hope to see you all again for more Planet Coaster and more of the Warner Brothers Citywalk.